Okay. Well, I had to answer that call. Sorry. So this may end up being a two-part video. I don't know the first thing about editing, so I'll probably have to, divide it up into two. But I don't know what kind of BS I was running through, but I was showing you that fence, but that propane tank that I was just videoing earlier, that's what feeds this generator. And like I said, way out in the country like this, it's a muy necesito item, much needed item. But yeah, I've kind of been hooked up the last couple of weeks and been waiting on this truck. I finally got my new pickup after waiting. I built this thing on the internet. I say a year, but it hasn't quite been a year. It's been like 10 and a half months. So almost a year ago, I ordered this truck, and praise God, it finally came in. And it's even prettier than I thought it would be, which is not a bad thing. Of course, you gotta name all your vehicles. So I've nicknamed this one Big Red. I think that kind of goes with Oklahoma, doesn't it? Big Red football and Big Red. So got away from the diesel. My Dodge was a diesel, and that Dodge was at the tail end of the true power diesel engines. It doesn't, that Dodge didn't take any of that DEF crap that they make you put in them, which kills your power. So I went back with gas. I just said the heck with diesel. I don't pull a trailer as much as I used to. And, if you're pulling a trailer every day, then I would say yes, definitely 100% go with diesel. But I just pull a trailer ever so often these days. So I just went back with gas. So, of course, like I said, this one I nicknamed it Big Red. And I'm going to re-nickname this pickup. I don't know if I ever really had a name for this one, but now I'm just going to call this one Dirty Old Bastard because it pretty much stays dirty out here. I can wash it and come down this dirt road that I live off of, and it's dirty in about 2 days. So I hate to say it, but it's probably not going to get too many. It didn't get too many baths the last couple of years anyhow, but it's really going to be swept under the rug now. It's going to, as old country boys say, it's going to be sucking hind tit to get attention. But I am still going to drive it. But yeah, its new name is Dirty Old Bastard. Sorry, kids, if there are any kids watching this. Sorry, I can't resist. But, okay, back to these clouds. I haven't listened to the weather, but it looks a little scary. I mean, it doesn't really terrify me. I've lived in Oklahoma all my life, but it's when it's real calm like this and the wind's not blowing, it's real quiet, kind of is concerning. And you see these hooks right here in these clouds. I don't know, it seem like they call them hook echoes. I'm no jump back Gary England, jump back, what he used to say, the meteorologist here in Oklahoma for 30 something years. Jump back somebody. And his other little catchphrase was Friday night in the big town, which I don't live in the big town. The big town's that way. But he would always get on, and he had a sidekick, storm chaser named Val. And every other word when he'd get revved up is Val, Val, Val. Where you at, Val? Give us a location. Give us a location, Val. Val, Val, Val. And then Val would get on something called the GETNER, whatever in the hell that is. Val, are you on the GETNER, Val? Val, 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 are you on the GETNER, Val? But Gary England, I think, he's been retired for about 10 or 15 years, but I can remember him talking that smack back when I was a little kid. As a matter of fact, I think he made it into that Twister movie back in I can't think of that dude's name, but that movie Twister, he was in that movie. So let's check out these these chickens. You want to help me? Tilly, you want to help me check out the chickens? Planted some trees. I was supposed to water them, but I think Mother Nature's going to take care of that for me, but I planted 4 of them, I don't know, a week or 2 ago. Did you help me with that, Tilly? I can't remember. Yeah, you're a big help. Where is Stinky at? Where's your fighting buddy at? Where's your MMA, MMP? Hey, don't bite that tree. Stop that. You goofball. Stop that. Oh, the WWP. There you go. WW puppy. Okay, here's the chickens. Last time I showed them to you guys, they were in our laundry room in a tub that we bought. It was a little, I think it was a little horse trough that we bought at Tractor Supply, and then from there they started stinking so bad that we moved them into the garage, and they remained under a heat lamp, and I believe they've been out here now for a couple of weeks. You better get away, Tilly. Starlight, she's not even allowed anywhere near this, which I know she gets out here, but I'm gonna spank her butt if she attempts to kill these chickens again. I think I told you guys she killed the last round we had was about a year ago, and we had 6, I believe, 6 or 7, and she killed every one of them in one day, which was devastating to my daughter, Blakely. You know, breaking that to her was not really that fun, to be honest with you. But they go in the they go in the coop at night. I don't think these things are trained enough to where they'll automatically go in, because them other chickens we had a year ago, as soon as the sun went down, they would bring themselves in the coop. Well, so we shut the door. I have Blakely shut the door at night, so none of these animals over here can get in. The only way they can get in at this point is dig, which I know that can happen. And what I need to do is I need to bury some either some more of this welded wire or some chicken wire, or I've got some expanded metal left over from Iron King that I need to probably just put coming out from here, go out about 2 or 3 feet and make me a barrier all the way around. So if something was going to dig, you know, they'd have to earn their keep, because they wouldn't just have to dig a 10-inch hole, you know, down and under that 2x4 right there and then into the pen, but they'd have to dig, you know, like a 4-foot hole, which I'm no dog or coyote, or I'm no raccoon, but it sure is harder to dig 4 feet than it would be 10 inches, obviously. But so if I bury something, you know, it's going to be right along through here and then around the corner and then back up to the wall. And maybe that will discourage something from digging under there and getting our chickens, or my daughter's chickens. But let me go in here. I'll get you a closer look. Get this door open. I'm going to have to work on this door. I built this pen a year ago, and that door, I think it's kind of swelled up a little bit. No, you are not coming in here. But here's all the chickens. I think there's 13 or 14 of them. One of them died. I don't know. I think they may have set on it, but and killed one of them, and I think they replaced it. But what's funny, I think that little funky one there, that she's a little runt, but I think she's a silky. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the breed. She's got a bunch of different breeds out here, but that little bitty runt, the little bitty runt right there, I believe she's a silky. But it's a miracle she survived, because she was only about 1/3 of the size of the other chickens up until the day we let them out into this pen. She's grown a little bit, so she'll catch up. But here's their coop, and then it's kind of muggy in here. I'd show you how to get in those little, I believe they're called brooding boxes. They're on hinges, and that's where you pick up the eggs. And there's a couple of them on this side. I believe there's a couple, and it's kind of hard to walk around in here. I'm not that tall, but I had to build the height of this under that wall, so I'm not quite able to stand up in this chicken pen, so it's kind of a pain in the rear. So I got a bad back. It hurts to walk with your head down. But here's a couple of more of these brooding boxes. So with us having 14, I may have to buy another one of these. And believe it or not, they're proud of these because we bought this one. This one was used, slightly used, and a guy bought it at an estate sale. I think we paid $350 or $375 for this rascal used. So I believe he cut the price in half. I think if you look them up on the internet, the brand is Snap and Lock. Yeah, there you go. Snap and Lock chicken coops made by Formex. And I believe we did look it up. It was $700 or $800 for that thing, and that was a year or two ago. So, okay, I built me an escape hatch here so we didn't get locked in, but that works. It better work. I hate to have to kick my way out of here. There we go. There we go. You stay out. You stay out. Okay, I'm gonna lock it up. Even though my daughter is gonna be out here in a couple of hours, locking these chickens into their. Uh-oh, I think I hear my wife and kid pulling in here. So, you know the old saying, "Mama's home," so I'm gonna have to take my flogging like a man. At least that's what an old man. There she is. At least that's what an old man I used to rent from when I started Iron King used to say every day when he would go home. He would say, "Boys, I'm gonna go home and take my flogging like a man." And I believe him because his wife was mean as a snake. I loved her, but she was kind of mean. So, well, there goes Blakely to go. She's gonna go find her mama, Blakely. Tilly's gonna go find Blakely. Get over here. Get away from that gate. Uh-oh, you dropped something. You dropped the lighter fluid.
I heard it. Hi, babies.
You look like you've been asleep, girl. Have you been asleep? A YouTube video.
Hey, don't film me.
Don't film you. You're already on. Sorry.
You're gonna get your license plate on.
I don't care. See what I got to put up with? Ooh, the lake looks pretty. There's not a ripple out there on that lake. Wishing I was fishing. I should get my lazy butt out there and go fishing, but I'm not going to. Yeah, we got clouds all around us now. Oh, that's pretty. Got a mirror image. Let's see that tree. And that image, that reflection of that tree in the water. Isn't that cool? Oh yeah. Windmills barely moving. Barely moving. It's beautiful out here tonight. Yeah, I was getting back to diesel trucks, and so here's I had two of these trucks, and here's the one I got left. I sold one of them. And I kept this one, and it has that DEF stuff that you have to put in, and it is a pain in the rear. It's always messing up. It's always, sorry, it's always the check engine light's always on, and it has to do with that. And it's just you know, and it cuts down on the power that the engine produces. I just don't dig it. But there's where you put it in, right there. See that little right there, that little tank, and that stuff's not cheap either. So anyhow, yeah, this was I sold the old truck and pretty much kept the new one just in case I want to get back into that cesspit of stress, which I don't really want to do that. I'm gonna have to start mowing, or really I probably should have mowed this. The rest of it hasn't even really grown, but that's probably all weeds. Been having it sprayed, but I guess the kid didn't come out here beyond this fence. He was supposed to, and so I think that's all weeds. I know it's all weeds. but I got to get out here, and at this point I'll probably just have to hit it with a weed eater. And then I've been selling some more mailboxes. I sold a mailbox. I sold one earlier in the week and delivered it to the big town of Lawton, Oklahoma yesterday. And then I sold another one down in Lawton. And luckily thus far, I've been able to sell the ones that I have in stock. When I shut my doors at Iron King, I had 17, I believe. I had 17 boxes that I carted out here, and I think now I'm down to 5, I believe. And so I have sold, you know, like 10 to 12 mailboxes. And, you know, those, I'm just guesstimating on those numbers, but I know I know for a fact there's 5 of them left, because I sent him pictures of all 5 of them just a few days ago. And I just remember I labeled them as design number 1 through 5, so I know there were 5. So with that being said, if I sell any more, if I'm not blessed enough to sell the ones that I have in stock, then I'm going to have to get my Big O out there and build some more, which I'm totally capable of doing it. I haven't personally built one in probably 15 years. But I've built other things. I just haven't built a mailbox in 15 years. I had a whole shop full of hands, employees, helpers, whatever you want to call them, that did all that for me, which was a blessing and a curse all wrapped in one. Employees can be good, and they can be a real pain in the rear as well. So can bosses. That goes both ways. But I built this. This was a display gate, and the pots, planter pots that you see in front of me here are just there to weight that thing down, because believe it or not, we got some winds out here about, well, it happened more than once, but a year or two ago, and it blew this gate, and this thing weighs, my goodness, it's on a 1/2-inch thick plate steel stand, and so it's 1/2 inch thick. That's about 2 foot by about 8 foot. So the base alone, pedestal base, whatever you want to call it, probably weighs 300 pounds. The gate probably weighs, along with the post, another 5. So there's probably 600 to 800 pounds worth of gate right here. And I did build this, and it was a long time ago. But there's always a story behind every job that we did. And there was a lady that backed out, kind of a I'm not going to say any names, but they owned a pretty prominent business in Oklahoma City, and they backed out on it. They gave me some money down, and I built it, and then they backed out on it, and then a couple of years later called me and wanted it, but didn't want to pay the second half of the money. And I said, well, sorry, I mean, you only paid me half the money. And the lady's on TV all the time, but I'm not going to mention any names. I don't need to make any waves, even though I'm not in business anymore. I just learned don't do that. So I'm not going to do it. But it's a cool gate. It's got a bunch of lattice work down here. It's hard to see because of but we made a fake looking, or it's usually, you know, you see lattice made out of wood. This is made out of steel. And poor gate needs a touch-up paint job, but probably not going to do that unless I open Iron King back up and set it back up. And if I did that, it would probably be up at the top of this barn here on the second story. I don't see myself doing that anytime soon. But here's a second propane tank. Now this feeds everything in the house here, which would be we got a big oven that runs off of propane. It's kind of a party type thing. We rarely use it. It's not the oven that we normally use, but it's for, like, they used to have big oil field parties out here, and I guess they would cook hamburgers on it. I really don't know. But it feeds that, and it feeds all the hot water tanks, which there's several of them in this house because this house has heated floors, and a couple of those a couple of those tanks are filled with, I believe they said selenium. I could be wrong on that. I'm almost positive that's what he called it, which is some kind of thick liquid that you can heat up. And those tanks may not even be turned on. They may not even have a pilot on. I don't know. I've never activated them. I've never tried to activate them. It's never really gotten that cold out here for that long for us to even attempt that. But anyhow, long story short, that propane tank runs all the propane hot water tanks, and it also runs the propane heater that's central heat and air, which is upstairs. The rest of it's all electric. There's about 10 of these. Mitsubishi makes some. It looks like that's a Fujitsu brand. And I think that particular one right there runs 2 or 3 of those. And there's about 10 of them in the house that hang on the wall. And I know that one runs 2, possibly 3. And there's several of those around this house. But here's something else I built as a display and had several opportunities to sell this, but I never felt like anybody ever made an offer that was good enough to get it out of my showroom. But we built that, and then I had it powder coated. What it was I had a guy that used to bring in junk at the shop, and he would sell it after work, and ever so often I would look on his truck and there would be something worth keeping. So that was a futon, which consisted of this frame right here, and then it just had a few of these slats in it, and we put extra slats, and then I built from scratch, I built this backboard here. And then my wife was going to get a custom mat made for that. I don't know where this sack came from or what it's doing here, but she was going to get a custom a custom pad, mattress, whatever you call that, but she never did. But I'm into wild colors, and I got that powder coated. So one thing about it, I mean, it's several years old, and it's set in my showroom for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and then it's set out here in the elements or under this awning here for the last 3 or 4, and it's held up pretty well. So I'm a big fan of powder coating things. It definitely outlast paint by like 10 to 1. And I don't care if you put 3 coats of primer and 3 coats of paint. Paint has a short shelf life. This is an old swimming pool, which they took it out before we moved here, but the weeds have been getting worse and worse in it every year, and I tried to give it a good burning this year. I think I burned it last year or the year before, and the weeds came back. Well, this time I burned it, and it had a little cedar tree, 2 cedar trees that sprouted up. I tried to kill them, but I'm gonna have to go either cut those down or just yank them up. It's all sand. I'll probably just get either a pair of gloves on. If I can't pull it up that way, just hook a chain to it and maybe my pickup or lawnmower or something and yank it out of there. But the other day when I set it afire, it burnt 2/3 of it. So if you treated that like a clock, it didn't burn from about 9 o'clock to about 2 o'clock. The rest of it, it did burn it pretty well. And then back to powder coating. This is a bench that I ordered, and I had it powder coated fire engine red, and it even has some metallic flake in it. It's beautiful, and it's set on our porch in Oklahoma City like this for, well, it was green when I bought it, and then I painted it with a rustic color paint. I put a textured paint on it and like a red, they used to call it, the color was Indian sand. And then when the cancel culture came in, which is a bunch of BS, they renamed it from Indian sand to mahogany. What this world's coming to, but anyhow, we won't get into that. So then it was green. It was a powder coated green. Then I painted it with that rustic, with the textured paint, and I put a red patina on it to make it look like a rusted metal, and it sat like that for several years on my porch. And then After that, it started to flake off, so I took it to the powder coating guy, and he sandblasted it, and then that's when they put this red on here. And I have to give him his props. It's held up really well. I'm not really sure what this is. It doesn't look like it's went to the metal, but maybe it has. But that's probably how I strapped it down when I came out here, so that could have had something to do with that, because it's here. And then on the adjacent side, it's the same, in the same place. And that would have been exactly where I would have put a strap when I hauled it out here. So I probably did that. But for the most part, that thing's held up pretty well. And then getting back to the junking, this kid that used to do the junk, he came in with this one day, this table base. And it has, I believe, 4 chairs. Yeah, there's 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. So all the chairs were good. We had to do a little bit of spot welding on a few of these. A couple of the welds have broke, but we spot welded them up, and then I took it and had it powder coated the same as that other bench I just showed you. This kind of a teal green. And then I had this tempered glass. The powder coating was sort of expensive, but they clipped me on this glass. It was several $100s for that glass. But this is a kick-ass table, and the amount of time they spent on this scroll work. Now, it's not very large, so that's sucker rod. It looks like maybe 3/16 in diameter, but somebody had to sit there and and bend those out. And there's probably 30 scrolls on one chair. If you count the bottom underneath the legs, there's more than that. And so the hours of building this thing, there's no telling how many hours it took. But I think I paid him $40, which he would have got at the junkyard. He would have only got about $2 for that, if even that. So I gave him 40. So he quadrupled his money, so to speak. I don't have a calculator in front of me, but going from $2 up to 40, what would that be? He let's see, 10 times, 10 or 20 times, I'd have to have a calculator, but he at least 10 times his money on that. I just butchered that, but anyhow, you get where I'm going, or where I went with that. Okay, I don't know where the cat is. Usually I can catch some pretty good fighting in between the cat and the dog. They kind of have a love-hate relationship. The funniest thing about the cat is he acts like he's getting tortured, but when he gets a hold of the dog, instead of biting the dog, he licks the dog. So figure that one out. I hope you can, because I can't. But when you think all HELL's about to break loose with the cat and the dog, the cat starts licking the dog instead of biting him. So I guess that's good. And then I know on a previous video I was showing you this backyard and how we had an armadillo out here. He was living outside of that gate in one of those outside flower beds out by the road. And he would come out here at night and root in this backyard in this Bermuda grass. And he tore the heck out of this yard. And the other day, well, I say the other day, about a month or two ago, I was out in the pasture looking around out in these trees out by the lake, and I seen a dead armadillo. Now, I don't know what got him, but I'm almost positive it's him, because I haven't heard the dog on a nightly basis going crazy when the armadillo would come under that gate and then come in here and root. And I believe what they're getting is worms. When they root in this grass, they're getting worms. They're getting like they're getting those what do they call those? Fishing worms is what I call them. I can't think of the name of them, but grub worms is the one, the big old white fat ones that are about an inch or two long. That's what they really get off on, and I know they're out here. And there's earthworms. They call those earthworms. The big old long dark brown ones that we all use when we go fishing. There's thousands of those out here. So we have good dirt out here, and it's good you know, when you find worms, you've got good soil. So, but I think the armadillo went bye-bye. Like I say, I couldn't tell what killed him, and he didn't look that maimed up. He just looked dead. But my dog, she would show out only when I would come out here. She would show out and she would run after the armadillo, but she would just like, I don't think she would bite him. She would just like ram his rear end, and he would just keep on running. And I don't know if you've ever chased an armadillo. We used to catch them as kids, or I wouldn't catch them, but I had a buddy that'd catch them by the tail. And I never was that brave, because they do have some nasty looking claws. And when they run, if you run behind them, they kind of run and they hop. And every time they hop, when they hit the ground, their shell it'll thump, thump. So every time they run and they hop, and their shell hits the ground and makes this thump. So it's pretty funny. I don't know if you've ever chased one, but I've chased several of them in my day. And she would chase after the armadillo and kind of hit him in his rear end. And she knocked him through a couple of these pots. I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, I was watching her, and then she kind of nipped at him when he would go under the gate. She would nip at him, but I think he met his demise right out here in these blackjack trees. Again, I don't know what got him, but doesn't break my heart, because he was killing my yard. So I'm gonna have to reseed some of this, and he got it here. He got all this, and then over here he did a pretty good number on this grass here. And I've been trying to fertilize this. I fertilized it twice in the last 2 or 3 months, and also put some of those tick granules, because our dogs were getting bad ticks on them, lots of ticks. But yeah, see, he rooted all this up. I'm gonna have to reseed that. And then before I end this video, speaking of reseeding, we have gophers out here really bad, and so I took a rake and I cut into those bald spots where the gophers had, you know, come up from underground, and they make those gopher mounds. And so I took a rake and I kind of cut into the soil up about 2 inches, and I got some new grass seed. And I did it last year as well, last spring, and it did okay. But this time I was trying to finish it up, and there's way more of them this year than there was last year. But I put the seed down, and then they have a fertilizer just for that. It's not the big, huge granules like when you buy the 10-20-10 fertilizer. It's little bitty miniature pebbles, and it's for new seeded grass. And I didn't think it was going to take, and I came out here earlier and I scratched it up with the rake again, and I watered it, and I noticed some of it is finally starting to come in. And so that's encouraging, because